Good evening and welcome to Select Arcane. Equestrians know that ponies are the most evil creatures in the world. Their diminutive stature, big saucer eyes, and little cute ears is a deception, luring unsuspecting children and their parents into believing that they can learn on a creature like this, the art of riding. When really, in fact, they are just Satan's minions in disguise from hell, building children's character one ride at a time. If you watched my Hershey's chocolate video last time, then you might know where this is going. Last Halloween, I ended up at Pet Value looking at the small animal and guinea pig costumes. We know for a fact now that these costumes make excellent model horse costumes, with a bit of alteration. And you might have seen that devil costume for bearded dragons. And here we are. Retrieving the devil costume from the depths, we're going to transform a small pony into the real devil it is. Opening the package, let's see what we have to work with. Galloping in to be our mannequin is Muffin from Shanta. I bet you expected me to use Royal Canadian Mint again. But actually, because he's going to be part of the Briar Box setup, I wanted a second costume to fit another model. Muffin will be perfect for this. Trying on the costume, it's obvious to see that this is not going to work. The hood and the straps are way too big and in all the wrong places. But with some alterations, it's going to be perfect. First I snip off the straps. Then using a doll rerouting tool, I seam rip the hood. Won't be needing that anymore. The doll rerouting tool is just a needle cut at an angle and inserted into a drill chuck. It does the job, it works fine. Without the giant straps and hood getting in the way, you can actually see the potential now. The costume itself fits Muffin's round body perfectly. Because this is a costume and not a stable blanket, I'll be taking a lot of shortcuts with the straps. To actually start, I start whip stitching that hole that I made by removing the hood. I fold it back on itself and sew it back together. The vinyl exterior is a bit tough, so I use the existing sewing holes. Yes, a machine would be faster and would probably do a better job, but compared to my Hershey's costume, this is a lot better, I think. Hopefully you didn't toss away that hood because we're going to need it. We're going to be recycling the material into the wither guard. I'm sure vinyl wouldn't be comfortable on a real horse, but it'll work on a model. Taking out a square, folding it back on itself, and then sewing it down into the wither area of the costume will create the illusion of a protective wither guard, and will add a bit of contrast with the black and red. I think this was my weakest part of the costume this time around. My sewing is all over the place. Time for the straps. Using two sizes of gross grain ribbon, 1/8 inch and 1/4 inch, will give the illusion of in-scale straps. The larger ribbon is for the belly strap, and the smaller ribbon is for the chest strap. I started with the belly. Measuring on Muffin about a half a dozen times, I cut a length of the 1/4 size ribbon, sewing it down to the right side of the costume about halfway down. Add in the adjustable buckle onto the belly band, which will give an illusion of realism and adjustability, and then attaching the hardware on the left-hand side. The clasp goes on the ribbon, and the receiver goes on the blanket on the other side, the left. The hardware is left over from my Hershey project, and I got it from Rio Rondo. This is the traditional scale hardware in silver. Backing up a little bit, if this is your first time purchasing Rio Rondo hardware, do not despair. The hardware comes in these stamped metal sheets. Take a pair of pliers, in this case I have these scissor clamps, twist your piece off, And holding the piece in your pliers, you can sand on some lower grade sandpaper. I believe this is 100 grit, so it's very sandy. Smooth off any rough edges and it's ready for use. Do the exact same thing with the 1/8 inch gross grain ribbon. That's the smaller one. Measure the costume on your pony and see how far you need to cut the ribbon for the chest piece. One strap will do. Just like the Hershey costume, I'm going with the D-ring and hook method. I do find it a lot easier to install on the model and for quick tack changes. And in real life, I find them a lot safer as well if you have a really bitey pony. Sew the D-ring to the left side of the costume. Remember, the camera orientation shows that as the right, but it is the left side of the costume. Sew the ribbon to the right side of the costume, measure, and then sew on the clasp. You'll easily be able to hook the clasp onto the D-ring. It looks like we're done here, but there's one key detail missing: devil horns. One day I'll provide a proper halter tutorial once I figure out how to make one a lot better than I do now, but for now, I use the 1/8 inch gross grain ribbon to manufacture a halter. The hardware is traditional scale and also from Rio Rondo. Using Muffin's square little head, I essentially build the halter directly on the model. This will ensure the perfect fit. I'm using Tacky Glue to secure all the pieces together, no sewing. Rio Rondo has halter kits available with full instructions, and other artists, such as Infinity Briars or Sugar Rose Studios, have brilliant halter making tutorials that are far better than what I'm providing here. To make the horns themselves, I cut out a square of sparkly red washi tape. I found this stuff at Michael's. Folding it back on itself will allow sparkles to be on both sides. Taking the same 1/8 inch gross grain ribbon, I sew one side to one horn, loop under the crown piece of the halter, and sew back to the other side of the horn. For a really secure fit, I make sure that the horn is actually sewn down onto the halter itself. No slippage allowed here. Same for the second horn. These sparkly washi tape horns are not my own invention. I'm not sure who actually invented the trend, but Arabesque model horse miniatures by Missy Halvis made some pretty spectacular glitter reindeer antlers. And even before that, in 2018, Erika Cha-Cha Isbell, also known as Performance Fanatic, made some spectacular Christmas cajoring sets with glitter antlers as well. This is just the first time I think I've seen the glitter antler trend more as horns rather than antlers. With a little bit of cleanup and of course putting on the rest of the costume, the Muffin Devil Pony costume is done. One day Muffin will be painted and I'll be able to utilize this costume in a live show. Do you think this little costume encompasses all of Ponytude? If you like this video, please like and subscribe. You can follow me on Instagram @SelectArcane or on Facebook by the same name. Thanks so much for watching, and happy Halloween!